Hi everyone, my name is Christine Sowa. I'm a PhD student studying societal computing at Carnegie Mellon University under Dr. Kathleen Carley in CASOS. Today for the fake news presentation, I will be talking about Reddit and how we can find the spreading of disinformation to really large, diverse communities across this platform. So today's talk will have an introduction to Reddit, since it's not the standard Twitter that's talked about in a lot of these fake news contexts, as well as how we've seen fake news take over this platform, and how we can find out how many people are involved in this operation through agent-based modeling. For those of you unfamiliar with Reddit, it is the 6th most popular website in the United States and the 20th most popular website in the world, where users average about 11 minutes on the platform every day. This is higher engagement than any other social media platform that Alexa measures. There are over 1 million distinct communities called subreddits that people can subscribe to. This has been showing large exponential growth over the past 10 years. And when a user subscribes to a subreddit, like I do for the one for Pittsburgh, they can see all the other posts for that subreddit. They can also create those posts or even upvote them, like this one that's making fun of people in Pittsburgh's driving habits. I was one of 1,000 people who upvoted this. Or you can comment on these posts and upvote or downvote people's comments or reply to them. So now that you know how Reddit works, let's talk about where we've seen fake news on it. So 2 years ago, Reddit released its annual transparency report with the names of about 1,000 accounts that were linked to the Russian troll farm, the Internet Research Agency. They kept these accounts active online so people can still find their posts and comments, and they were posting across many different subreddits in an attempt to have the information that they were posting be visible to that community. You're probably wondering then how you can overtake a community like this. Well, it's kind of simple. The idea is organically on a subreddit, someone can make a post, and the people who are in this loyal minority to this subreddit will do something called sort by new. So they'll see every new post that comes in, and they are the, give or take, gatekeepers of this community, where they'll upvote or downvote whether or not they believe it is in line with something the rest of the community should be looking at. And if it doesn't get a substantial amount of upvotes from people, it'll probably be buried amongst a sea of posts that no one will ever see. However, in order to hack these communities, what we believe that was done by the IRA troll accounts was, once the post that they made went live, bots immediately, using open APIs, upvoted that in that gatekeeping phase. By having this boost earlier, this increased the visibility, so people who aren't in that minority who sort by new will also see it, and the broader community will see this and have a higher likelihood of upvoting it. So this is something that can be modeled using agent-based modeling and a preferential attachment model to look at that first phase of gatekeeping, as well as finding posts that go truly viral after they're witnessed by the broader community. So since this is BRiMS, I'd like to talk about how this agent-based model was created. So the agents in this scenario are the users who are posting. The resources are the posts to the subreddits. Users can either upvote or downvote posts, much like they can on the Reddit platform. And a preferential attachment model is created off of the upvotes or downvotes. So for example, if you have 6 posts and 5 of them have 1 upvote and the 6th one has 5 upvotes, that 6th one has a 50% chance of being seen, whereas the other 5 have maybe a 10% chance of being seen. In order to look at the gatekeeping aspect of this in the agent-based model, bots were created, a fixed number of them, for any given community to look at which ones immediately upvoted to change the trajectory of the final scores of the posts. And the number of bots were varied to match the score distribution of posts from the Internet Research Agency in the various subreddit communities. In keeping with doing some of the light docking, previous work has looked at preferential attachment in agent-based models across social networking platforms. Something that this does that other work has done has looked at including diverse multiple platforms and comparing how people talk on them differently, but none of them have looked at comparing platforms that contain really diverse communities within the same overall platform like I'm doing with Reddit here. Something that I've seen done in Ren's work that I'd like to apply in the future would also be looking at personalized content moderation, which while I don't have access to that information right now on Reddit, seeing what everyone else sees on their newsfeed would be an asset. So the inputs for the model are the frequency of the posts from the trolls, which we were able to pull historically from those 2 years of really active IRA posts that we still have access to on Reddit. The number of available bots for immediate upvote, this was varied. The frequency of the new posts, so that's how many posts that you see on a subreddit every day moving forward. Percentage of the active users in a community who's gatekeeping, probability that a moderator would actually remove the post with the hopes of eventually finding out the upvote score. Now, something to keep in mind in these communities that has to be acknowledged when you're looking at the work that the IRA was doing here is these communities have strong differences. So I, for this project, looked at 5 of the communities, subreddits, that the IRA was actively posting to for years. They are ones related to cryptocurrency, political humor, funny like memes, news, and the Donald, which is the subreddit for fans of our current president. Now you see a difference in the upvote ratio, and the upvote ratio is looking at the percentage of upvotes over all actions, so upvotes over upvotes and downvotes. And you see a group like the Donald has over a 90% upvote ratio, so you're seeing kind of a homogenous community with perhaps an echo chamber developing as people are upvoting each other's things, really liking what everyone else is saying. But then you have groups like political humor, and political humor is more nuanced because you're attracting people from both sides of the political aisle, you're making funny cartoons, and some of these cartoons can be more offensive, so you see a much lower upvote ratio for them, which can, like I said, become a proxy for maybe an echo chamber. And you see the effect of this when you look at how successful the IRA was in the posts that they made on these communities. So the distribution of the scores for these are vastly different. You see in political humor, the majority of the posts actually were downvoted to a score of 0, whereas some of the ones in the Donald were able to achieve true virality and scores of over 500. You also have to be pretty strategic about what you're posting if you want a group to see it. These pie charts here represent what type of content was posted to these subreddit platforms. For something like news, you need to post an article to something that's outside of the Reddit community, so something from Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, something that's actually a news article needs to be posted there. Whereas ones for political humor and funny, you're more likely to see images that perform well. And the Donald is kind of a bit of a hodgepodge. So when I ran these experiments, each virtual experiment was performed multiple times for each specific subreddit with their features input. And the baseline model was looking at if there were 0 bots in here, it should match a simple random sample of the subreddit as it currently stands. So these were the inputs for it. Most of them I've gone over previously. Each subreddit has its own inputs. The upvote probability is what we saw earlier. The downvote probability is 1 minus that. Number of organic posts in the past 2 years is a raw number. The number of troll posts in 2 years is what was observed in the 2 years prior to the 2017 transparency report being released, because after that they closed down those accounts. And the probability of action is actually from previous literature that states that about a user will, with a probability of 12%, take action on any given post that they see, whether that's likes, comments, posts, whatever. So validation was performed using empirical data from the posts that the Russian trolls collected during their tenure on Reddit. We're basically looking to see that if there are 0 bots in our platform, that matches an organic how Reddit is today. Statistical comparisons were done using the Kolmorov's-Smirnov test. That was done in R. All the other data was pulled using Python's PRA package in the OpenAPI. So, looking at the outcomes for this, one thing that should probably stand out to you, regardless of how many bots were used, is that a lot of these t-tests have very small p-values, which is to say that the distribution of the posts in these simulations don't match what we see currently on Reddit within the past 2 years. But something to keep in mind for that is this assumes that there are not currently any bots or trolls on the platform, which is something to be wary of moving forward, knowing that there could still be these accounts that are trying to gain traction in these communities. But we don't know because there haven't been any new transparency reports from Reddit that have indicated such. Interesting takeaways though, like we mentioned with political humor and the Donald being kind of these contrasts, the Donald's p-value does go up a bit more when you see higher bots, and the political humor one goes down when you see the bots. So maybe there's a smaller presence in the political humor group versus the Donald, where it was a little bit more targeted. Moving forward, there's a lot I would like to do with this. I think it's an excellent data set, and there's a lot of work that can be done. More things to include in the model would be including things like the comments that are on the post and how that affect the upvote ratio, things like a resonance score for the likelihood that someone would actually upvote something based on how much it jives with how they feel about that information, as well as attributes to the post. So like I pulled before, some are images, news articles, etc., that could affect the upvote ratio, specifically in different communities. So I'd like to leave you with the takeaway that Reddit is a really understudied platform, and they have communities of people who really believe that what they're getting is authentic news from anonymous sources. But that trust has been corroded, and it's important that we look into it. Thank you very much.